Hello and welcome guys, what's up, Whoopsie here, and today I'm gonna show you how you can crack the fourth set of MCOMs on Damavand Peak. A lot of teams do fail just in this tunnel here, and I'm gonna show you ways how you can prevent that and lead your team to victory. This stage is all about the tank and correctly using it. Most teams that lose at this stage don't use the tank correctly, or the teamwork between the tank and the infantry doesn't go together well. So in this video we're going to extensively look at how you can correctly use the tank and how you can use it to maximize your chances of winning. And at this stage of Damavand Peak we need every little bit of help to win, because I believe this is the hardest stage on Damavand Peak. You got a lot of disadvantages. You have to advance through a narrow tunnel. The other enemy also has a tank, and not only that, the enemy tank has a glitch position where it can hit you, but you can't hit him, which we're going to look at later. But the main reason for failure on this stage is that the tank gets wasted. Either the tank gets wasted or the team doesn't repair the tank and your tank loses the duel with the enemy tank. But we're gonna look at how you can turn it around. Preparation for battle begins before the actual game. For that I recommend you to go to the battle log and set up the main battle tank as follows. Choose the reactive armor, the zoom optic and the heavy machine gun. That is a very effective setup for this map, and I'm gonna show you later why. So in game, the first thing you have to do after you've taken the third set of MCOMs, you have to run to exactly this point, because this is where the enemy tank spawns. So this is where your tank spawns. You've got exactly 30 seconds to clear the area and jump into the tank. Just in case you get spawn raped and the enemy steals your tank, don't whine about, just tell your team and then put C4 on the jeep, drive over to the tank and blow him up. Or if you're a good pilot, what you can do is you can fly around the back, put C4 on your heli and then blow up the tank that way. This may not work the first time or the second time, but keep trying until you get it back. So assuming you have made it inside the tank, now it gets really interesting, but first we're going to look at the enemy tank and his positions and tactical advantages. I mentioned a glitch position earlier in where the enemy tank can hit your tank but you can't hit him. And you can see it here in this clip, me sitting in the enemy tank on the defending team. Let's look at it in more detail. It's right here behind these pipes. As you can see, the tank is perfectly covered from all sides. And through these pipes, the enemy tank has overview over the tunnel entrance, which is where you have to come through with your tank. A good enemy player will position his tank here and just wait for you and prevent you from getting into the tunnel. And when he moves back, he's got overview over the right side of the tunnel where he can stop your infantry. Pretty sick, huh? And as you can see here, we can hit the enemy tank only through the pipes, which is virtually impossible. Try coming up against that. So we can't really lead a firefight when the enemy tank is in that position, and we have to look for alternative ways to get into the tunnel and clear him out. So the first thing you should do when your tank spawns is to drive up just a little bit, and if the enemy tank shows up in the middle of the tunnel, give him a nice smack in his broadside and tell him who's boss and that he doesn't have to show up here again. So once the enemy tank retreats into his glitch position behind the pipes, you can move up to your next position, which is here behind the main middle pillar at the entrance of the tunnel. The advantage is that in that position you can't be hit by the enemy tank, nor by the RPG on the right side of the tunnel, nor by the cornet rocket launcher. The only people that can hit you are the RPG soldiers over by the A MCOM, but they'll have a pretty hard time hitting you because of the large distance. You have option to retreat and you'll have an advantage on them because of your zoom optic. And you can see at this stage why the zoom optic was a good choice for this particular stage of Damavand Peak. So from this position you can take the whole left side of the tunnel under fire. You can also put the A MCOM under pressure, and what you can also do is you can drive ahead just a little bit and take out the guy on the cornet rocket launcher, which is really unpleasant for your tank. You can also move up ahead just a little bit and take out the guys behind the pillar so your infantry can advance. And as your infantry moves up on the left side of the tunnel, it should get pretty uncomfortable for the enemy tank, because as soon as your infantry is far enough up, they can reach him with RPGs. The enemy tank has now to retreat and you can move up to your next position. And that position is here on the right side of the tunnel. From here you've got a good angle on the glitch position of the enemy tank, so he can't hide there anymore. The good thing about this position is that you have full cover from the RPG soldiers at the A MCOM and at the B MCOM. The only ones that can get you are the ones at the big truck, but you can easily put them under pressure. So now, depending on the situation, you've got several options as to how to proceed next. If there are still huge amounts of enemies on both the A MCOM and the B MCOM, what you can do is following. From your position on the right side, you've got an angle on the A MCOM through these two pillars here. So you can start putting pressure on the A MCOM, and that allows your infantry to move up on the left side. But if your team has already made very good progress on one side or the other, what you can do is you can move up to the broader part of the tunnel and start putting fire on the other side of the tunnel where your team hasn't moved up yet. What you should do in any case though is to move up quickly just a bit and clear out the exits of the little side tunnels, because often campers, MG campers and snipers will prevent your team from coming out of the small tunnels, and just help them that way. So once you have put a lot of pressure on the A area, you can move up to the B MCOM, because the B MCOM is easier to take than the A MCOM, and from there you've got a wonderful opportunity to flank around to the backside of A and take that as well. So start putting B under pressure, start bombing him in, help your infantry to take B, clear out the enemies, clear out the MG campers, hold down the enemy tank, and just help your team to capture that area. And when you do that, be very careful with your tank, drive forwards and backwards, watch the minimap, make sure that when you're damaged that you retreat and get repaired, and when the enemy tank shows up, make sure you show him your front side and that you shoot him in his sides, because that way you deal him more damage. And if you get too much flak from the A area, drive back to your old position on the right side of the tunnel and start bombing the A area through the two pillars as before. But I don't want to prescribe you rigid tactics, because once you have reached the broader part of the tunnel, you need to decide yourself and spontaneously what the best way to advance is, and that depends on where the enemy infantry is, where your infantry is, and where the enemy tank is. This video is a lot more about the positioning of your tank, position in which you have maximum cover from enemy RPG soldiers, but where you can still support your team in advancing towards the MCOMs. So for example, from this position here, you can start taking the B area under fire, you can help your infantry get a hold there, and they will then make it very uncomfortable for the enemy tank, which has to retreat further. But once again, be very careful. If you're getting too much flak and RPGs from A, go back to the old position on the right side of the tunnel and start taking the A area under fire. So once you have chased away the enemy tank into the back of the tunnel and your team has taken the B area, you can direct your attention to the A area and start taking it under fire, either from this position, or you can flank all the way around and take the back of the A area under fire. Team can now move up and conquer the A area, and you've won the base. Generally, you should move up in line with your infantry. A great advantage is that they can repair you when you're dueling with the enemy tank. And when you move up too far ahead, you will definitely get blown up by C4 or enemy RPGs. But if you are hanging too far back, the enemy tank will shoot up all your infantry, so it's quite important that you move up in line with your infantry, or just a bit behind them. What is also very important is that you communicate with your team, and not only when you need repair. Because as a tank driver, you have a special responsibility towards your team. Because as a tank driver, you have an important role to play, and you have the opportunity and the duty to lead your team to victory at this stage. So you have to tell your team, if you are putting certain areas under pressure, you have to tell your team to start pressuring the enemy tank, take out the cornet rocket launcher guy, and put the RPG soldiers under pressure, and tell them if you're moving back, if you're retreating to get repaired, so they know that they need to be careful. And for that purpose, it's obviously very helpful if you're leading the server or if you're in the top 3. So if you have, if you have done your best during the first 3 set of MCOMs, your team is a lot more likely to follow you, to respect your authority, because they know you're a real team player. And I want to emphasize this point especially. If there is no infantry around you, if all the infantry around you is down, you have to retreat, because if there's no infantry around you, it's quite likely that you will get blown up by C4 or RPGs. At this stage of the game, the role of the tank driver is my favorite role. It's not an easy role, because your whole team is shouting at you to quickly move up and waste your tank. There are RPGs flying towards you, your screen is shaking half the time, the smoke around you, everything wobbles, it's crazy, it's loud. You know, the MG gunner is just spamming and it's blinding you, but it's really rewarding and it's really beautiful if you can lead your team to victory and yeah, really help out your team. That's really rewarding for me. And if you're not the tank driver, you should be the MG gunner on the tank. As the MG gunner, you've got the 3 following priorities: take out C4 supports, take out RPG soldiers and suppress them, and spot enemy soldiers on the minimap with your Q button. Your role as MG gunner will assume a special importance if the tank driver is quite inexperienced and separates himself from your infantry soldiers and tries to rush the MCOMs pretty much just by himself. In that case, you need to constantly look around and ensure that nobody puts C4 on your tank, and you need to suppress all the RPG soldiers. That becomes so much more important at that point. This is exactly what happened in this clip. There are so many C4 players and RPG soldiers all around us, and yeah, we just got a bit lucky that the enemy team's tank didn't notice us. And yeah, try to look in a different direction than your tank driver to make sure that you don't miss anyone. And if both the tank driver seat and the MG gunner seat are taken, just put yourself behind the tank and repair it. You're contributing more to your team that way than 10 snipers at the back. But if the tank team is already doing a very good job, you can look and see what else is missing on your team. Are there medics missing? Go and play medic. Are there you know, not enough RPG soldiers missing? Engineers? Go play engineer, support your tank, and put the enemy tank under pressure. So you have probably noticed that it's all about teamwork in this tunnel, and the team with the better teamwork will essentially win this stage of the game. And for that to be your team, what you should do is you should be in your tank and slowly but steadily moving up together with your infantry soldiers. You know, chase away the enemy tank into the back of the tunnel. Start putting fire on one area, so say the A or the B MCOM, conquer that area, then flank the other area, and then start taking that under fire. Chase away the tank into the back of the tunnel and take over the whole tunnel for you. As I mentioned before, do communicate with your team. Lead your team, you know, motivate it, show some initiative. And if you have showed them that you're a real team player on the first 3 set of MCOMs, they will follow you. And if enemy choppers are hovering over your spawn and are dropping off spawn rapers, give them a smack in the broadside. BAM! Not today. Well, that's it guys. This video got a bit longer, but I really wanted to share all my tips with you to make sure you can maximize your chances of winning. And if you want more English videos, just let me know, you know, let me know which ones you want me to translate. I've got videos with more rush tips, more tips and tricks, how you can improve your KD, how to win Gunmaster, etc. Thanks for watching guys, see you next time.